as you might have heard, Nigerian university lecturers have been on strike since February, and that's meant no classes for almost 6 months. But why are they on strike? Well, it's all about disagreement with the federal government over pay, university facilities and welfare. And it's led to a growing labor crisis in Nigeria, with the Nigeria Labour Congress mobilizing workers across the country for protests in solidarity with the public university staff. So what's being done to end this discontent? Is the government doing enough to end the crisis beyond calling out the strikers as anarchists? Well, let's hear from the government side now. Senator Ita Enang is a senior special assistant to President Buhari and a member of the government's team that's leading negotiations with the staff union to try to end the strike. And he joins me now in the studio. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much. And please let me correct, I'm not speaking for the government.
No, I didn't say you were speaking. Okay, right, okay. But you are a member of, you've been
involved in all the,
yes,
most
in
of
the
negotiations, yes.
So what has caused this present strike?
What has caused the strike is the inability of the government to have enough revenue to meet the demands of the workers, given the competing revenues and the down in the income of the government and other competing challenges of the government in raising revenue. There is no government, no institution, no person that will not want to give attention and to the welfare of its workers. In primary economics, we were taught that the human beings, personnel is one of the greatest factors of production, and the government of President Muhammadu Buhari appreciates this. And of course, you've seen the extent that His Excellency Mr. President has gone personally intervening in these matters and giving marching orders to relevant officers to speed up whatever is available, whatever is need to be done to be done. We, in the negotiations, I will pray that, I'm glad that the Nigerian Labour Congress is coming to the matter, and I think this is going to be a solution. The solution would be that let the NLC, as the umbrella body of all the labor unions, look at the demands of the academic staff union of universities. Look at the demands of the senior and the non-academic staff. Look at the demands of the technologists and all the labor unions in the universities, colleges of education, polytechnics, academic and non-academic. Put them together. And then now say, look, if this is done to ASUU, for ASUU, and other people are raising the same demand that if you do this for this, you'll have to do this for us. What would be the amount of money involved and will the government be able to afford this? Because the willingness to pay, the agreement to pay, should be backed by ability to pay. And I say this in view of the fact that some days ago, we had some officers of the government coming out to say that our revenue or our debt servicing, not just debt repayment, and the other of our challenges are exceeding
debt
the income that we have.
Has exceeded government revenue.
The government revenue. And if we are in this position, debt servicing has exceeded government revenue. Now, and not just to talk of the personnel and what the academic staff unions are demanding. Even if we put a pen today and sign, even if the government puts a pen today and sign, where is the ability to pay?
Well, that's exactly the problem then, because the teachers say that this strike was caused by a failure to comply with pre-negotiated agreements. They had an agreement with the government, but the government went back on the agreement. They called for a renegotiation, they gave warning, but those warnings were not heeded. That suggests that the government isn't listening, or that the government is insensitive to their plight.
The government is not insensitive. And that rubs them up the wrong way. At all. The government is not insensitive at all. Look at the challenge of the government. I I'm aware, and you are aware, there's a public knowledge now, that we budgeted at about 1.8 million barrels of oil per day at a certain amount. And as at days ago, we are now producing at 1.3, 1.2 million barrels per day. Again, even after production, in the course of production, there is oil theft, which is done by the bigger system, taking this crude away. There is the loss.
Yeah, but it all harkens back to the governments, doesn't it? I mean, it's your responsibility to provide security. It's your responsibility to ensure that you meet your quota that's allocated to you by OPEC.
It is important to provide security, but the extent is, have we, in providing security, has the security been able to, what extent has the security been able to curb this? So what we're saying is this. It is very, very sobering. It's not a time to throw hard words. It's a time to look for a conference of understanding. I am not going to be able to say government should do this, Labour should do this. But I want to say, Labour, thank God NLC has come in. Look at the entire portfolio of government. Look at the entire challenges. Look at the extent we are owing. Look at how much loan we took and we are taking. Look at how we are funding infrastructure this year. And the essence of borrowing to fund infrastructure was that let's borrow to fund infrastructure because infrastructure will cause the economy to run, and as the economy runs, there will be generation of revenue which can service other things, And yes, we're not having so much money from oil again. We are relying so much on the non-oil revenue.
Basically, you're broke.
Yes. Basically, the government is low in terms of revenue. We will not use hard words. Government is like...
well, you're saying you won't use hard words, but you're not paying the people. If you can't pay them and you're saying you don't have enough revenue, it means you're broke.
Well, fathers and mothers don't tell the children how it is. You still do some show so that you won't...
So you're doing a bit of show now.
So, you don't have to depress your system.
Well, can I ask you this?
Yes.
Is there, you're a very intelligent man. I presume there are other people on the government's team, negotiating team, who are reasonably intelligent, ministers and all the rest of them. Are you open to suggestion? Are there any other considerations other than strikes that you're able to sit down and discuss with them? In other words, if you can't pay them what they want, are you able to renegotiate the way that the universities operate to allow them to be able to, or help them be able to go out and raise funds through collaborations with the private, sector, international bodies and all the rest of them?
When you look at the laws establishing all the universities, and you look at the law establishing the National Universities Commission, you look at the law establishing the petroleum equalization, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, and other funds, all this are taken into account to allow the universities to explore every means that it can take to raise revenue. Grants, research grants, and even you can commercialize research.
So they come back cup in hand, basically.
They can do any of this to raise money and take care of themselves. There is part of, I have been involved in a lot of these discussions, even when I was in private practice before I came into government. I've been involved in most of the negotiations, before I got into government, even before this administration. So we've done that most of the institutions that are established today as parastatals in the Ministry of Education were institutions that were established to assuage the stress on the university system to enable them have certain level of succor. That fund was established by the instrumentality of the academic staff union as part of the demands they needed to solve some problems of the university system. So what I'm really calling for now is let the National and Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress and the other affiliates, take a big picture, a big look at the picture of this is the government revenue. After all the staff in ASUU, I mean all members of ASUU, NLC, 2UC, and all the affiliate unions are members of the civil service. And they know how much money comes into this treasury. They see how much it comes into the federation account allocation. You see how states are stressed now that they are not able to meet some obligations. You see how much that after in every month's allocation, how the monies are getting low. You see that even when we earn dollar and then we exchange, and the exchange rate and the value of it still appears to give some succor to the states in terms of quantum of money, but in terms of value, strength, and purchasing power, it is not the same. So we plead with ASUU and the Academic Staff Union, look at the pulse of government. You are workers. You see when it is mobilized. You see when it comes in. Look at it and say, okay, you have taken this to pay the states. This is the federal government share. This is what you budgeted for capital project. This is what is remaining. This is what goes to the health sector. This is what goes to the federal ministries. This is what goes to the parastatals. This is what remains. Of that which remains, give us this. Use this in paying our demands. Government will be very, very happy.
Yes,
because when you look at what they are asking for, the totality of what they want now.
Which is what was negotiated
the totality
with
of
them, what the government agreed to pay them.
Well, ability to pay, willingness to pay, not backed by ability
but
to pay.
They're perfectly within their rights to demand what was agreed.
I think
that's what an agreement is about.
They have to come. Thank God His Excellency Mr. President has directed and further mandated the Minister of Education, and is having very peaceful, very amiable engagement with the unions.
But you're asking them to make concessions. You're saying this is the reality, and you need to take cuts, basically, in what you're asking for, even though this is what we agreed with you. Their argument is, why is it that you don't go to the National Assembly and say to the senators and the members of the House of Reps, we've got a crisis in the country, take a cut? Why don't you go to all the ministers and all the rest of them who get their salaries and their allowances and say, we've got a crisis in the country, take a cut? Why the teachers?
We're not asking the teachers and the university lecturers to take a cut.
Well, that's what you're saying.
No, I didn't say take a cut.
You're saying basically, look at what we've got that is available to you.
Yes, it's not enough.
And basically, that means take a cut.
Now, if you look at the allocation every month, allocation is not given to any institution based on what you budgeted for, what you're entitled in the budget. It is given to you pro rata what is available. You'll see every institution, every ministry, every department saying, this is what we budgeted.
Which is why you fall short of your budget.
We have a shortfall in the revenue. And so we no more can do this. And you have every ministry, they will tell you, we don't have enough allocation. And you find some ministries, departments, and education and agencies saying, we've not received allocation for this or that for the past 2-3 months. And you see some of them for their personnel, for their recurrent, saying, in this quarter, you can only have 1 month in the quarter. It's happening in many of the ministries. But in many of the departments, government doesn't have to come and announce this, because governance sometimes is about confidence building. Like I told you, and like we know, we're all parents. You don't let the entire situation of where you are to be known, so that even if you are going to borrow, you could be rated.
That's part of confidence building, that you have to be honest if you can't afford it.
Yes, and so if you have to do full disclosure, and sometimes even if you can't do full disclosure, sometimes look good, and that is why in accounting, they do what they call extrapolation and all that, expectations, the possibilities. So this is where the system is. And every day, this is a government where the Minister of Finance, the Director General Budget Office of the Federation, the different ministers in charge of information, in charge of dissemination, will tell you exactly where they are. And whenever revenue comes in, it is announced. Not like states, but at the federal level, when you have like Federation Account Allocation Committee, it will be stated what each arm of each tier of government goes back with. You'll know that, and when you go back, you'll see what Office of the Secretary of Government will have, of what the Presidency will have, what Minister of Works, Education, and all that will have. I'm sure you're aware that much of the, almost exclusively all of the capital project for this year is funded. And you know also that Nigeria is undergoing payment of subsidy. And this subsidy, person like me, I have personally been, I've never not agreed. When I was a young man, when I got into the National Assembly newly, and even when I got to the Senate, I said there is no government that does not have what it gives to its citizens. Until I saw what it was, I started in the Senate.
And the reality hit you.
Yes,
okay.
to oppose subsidy. So we are paying subsidy.
Right.
And this subsidy is part of what NLC and ASUU are saying we still have to pay. So we can't, the government can't do this and still able to do all.
I think you've made the points very clearly and very lucidly. And President Buhari gave 2 weeks, and a part of that 2 weeks has been eaten up now. So we'll wait to see what happens at the end of it. Senator Ita Enang, Senior Special Assistant to President Buhari and member of the government's team that's leading negotiations with the staff union to try to end the strike. Thank you very much indeed.